Okay, we're live. Hey, welcome. This is How to Build Your Own Home every Thursday from 5 to 6 Mountain Standard Time, PM. We do live chat. Kind of the only builder on YouTube that's doing live chat where you can actually ask questions from the builder and from his fellow wife who is a realtor. And we've got a guest today we're going to talk about. It's summertime and it's going into the fall. I just want to give people kind of some heads up on timing with regard to building, breaking ground, stuff like that. Usually, if you're getting ready to break ground at this time of year, you're going to want to start thinking about weather. And so the further north you are, the sooner you're going to be wanting to break ground. So we're going into fall in about a month and a half, 2 months, probably a month in some regions. And in other regions, 2 to 3 months, you'll be going into fall. So keep that in mind. Watch your weather. If you're going to try to get a home framed and dried in, you're going to want to try to get that done before November in some climates, before December in others, and definitely before January in all climates. January is kind of a cold and it can be rainy in a lot of other environments and super cold in others. So just keep that in mind. Why? Because it's on my mind. I've got 3 that I'm breaking ground on right now. We're pouring footings, doing foundations on, and one of them is high altitude. And so that's always on my mind. Don't let yourself get caught in the weather. It's you can time it and you can work it. Just know your weather in your area, and you'll actually be better off for that. We've got a guest today. His name is Blake Watson. He specializes in aging in place and building homes and remodeling homes for those that want to retire in perpetuity into those homes and how to prepare for that. There's a lot of stories we can share with you. And these are things that are good to consider in the course of the construction of your own home, or even in the restoration of a remodel that you've got going. A lot of things you just don't think about. For example, I'll throw one of them right off the bat. When you're framing a home, where do you put backing for all kinds of grab bars? Where do you put backing for all kinds of support that you might need? And when you're building your home, are you considering avoiding any kind of threshold? Anywhere. I mean, any kind of threshold into a shower, threshold into the home. I never thought about this stuff until my father got ill and he had to move in with me in my home, or my previous home. And I had to make a lot of accommodations, and I didn't factor that in. I didn't consider that. And it's nice to know those things in advance. So we're going to turn some time over to Blake, introduce himself. He's got a couple of slides to kind of show you, kind of get you a little informed about aging in place and how to build and prepare and model a home for those factors. So I'll turn some time over to Blake.
Okay. Do you want a formal introduction, Blake? Let me give you
up to you. I'm happy
to
do
Melissa, you do that.
Let me do the formal introduction so everybody knows your experience here. So Blake Watson is the owner of Age Proof Homes and is a licensed remodeling contractor in the state of Utah. He is certified aging in place specialist and a member of the Southern Utah Home Builders Association. Blake started Age Proof Homes with the mission to help seniors and individuals with physical disabilities live safely and independently in their own home. He saw a real need for accessibility solutions here in Southern Utah, especially with its aging population. Blake's work is defined by his attention to detail, his reliability, his commitment to his clients, and his strong community connection. When he's not working, Blake is enjoying all the outdoor activities that Southern Utah has to offer, including mountain biking, hiking, spending time on the water, and sharing those experiences with his family. You can also find him training for Ironmans. All right, Blake, now it's your turn.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you for the introduction and appreciate you having me on your YouTube channel. It's exciting. So yeah, I started Age Proof Homes and I run the company with my dad. He has a background in residential construction of about 30 years. He's on the right-hand side there. And then this is the crew that we run right now. There's 5 of us full-time. And so all of these guys help us get the job done. And yeah, just really the attention to detail and looking at it through the lens of accessibility. We are a licensed general contractor. but we really focus on accessibility and looking at it through that lens. So whenever we're going into a client's home and doing a remodel, we're always first and foremost on accessibility and how they're going to maneuver throughout their home. And then we want it to be aesthetically pleasing as well, and up to quality standards also. So we look at all of those points. By and large, the most often requests that we get is for grab bar installations. They seem very basic on the surface, but you're working with all types of different tile. We go through all kinds of bits, and we have a very fine-tuned process for looking for studs and identifying studs, especially sometimes it can be hard with tile that goes all the way to the ceiling. And then just the different types of tile. We work with travertine, natural stone, porcelain, ceramic, solid surface material. And so they're all a little bit different. And we've had experience with all of them. Here, you might be wondering, dog doors, why do they do dog doors also? And this one was a surprise to me because we started getting requests for dog doors. And from some of the older clients, if they have companions that are animals and dogs, if they're getting up and down to let the dog out of the sliding glass door to go out into the backyard to go to the bathroom or just to run around, and they're doing that frequently throughout the day, that could be, if they do have limited mobility and are unsteady on their feet, that opens it up to higher chances of falling each time they have to do that. But if a dog can go in and out as they please, they can do so with these dog doors. And so that's been a great addition to what we're able to offer clients, especially at night. If the dog needs to get up to go to the bathroom and the client, or if they don't have the dog door and the person has to go out at night and, limited visibility, it's dark. And so the trip hazard just goes up at night too. So started doing quite a few of those. We do a lot of multi-level accessibility, including stair lifts and elevators. We do work with Harmar closely. They're the manufacturer of a lot of the stair lifts that we install. And so we can install straight stair lifts, curved stair lifts, and we have done a few for veterans through a VA grant called HISA grant. And so we do work with veterans through Harmar and our relationship with them. Again, similar to multi-level accessibility, ramps, and a lot of manufactured homes, the entryway can be 2, 3, 4 feet off of the ground. And so if somebody is in a wheelchair and relies on that to get in and out of their home and around, even going out to the grocery store or a doctor's appointment, they need a ramp to get down. And so do ramps. And it was funny, this ramp in particular, we just really wanted to make it look, there was an HOA here, so we really wanted to make it tie into the existing home and not have it stand out. And the client was very particular about that, but really took every care that we could to make it tie into the existing home. And then, just bathroom remodels. The bathroom is a big area where people, as they age and balance becomes an issue, or, if somebody has hip surgery or knee replacement surgery and just isn't able to get around as well as they once could, the bathroom becomes a spot that is just a pain point. And, we use the bathroom for showering and going to the bathroom multiple times a day. And so it's just a spot that if it is a pain point for somebody, it's the first thing that they want to get changed. And so if you go to the next slide, so for clients, we really look at it through our accessibility lens. And for this particular client, the client's in a wheelchair and the spouse is the caregiver. And so a more open floor plan you can see on the right-hand side. Just going to really open this up, do a barrier-free shower, so curbless. On the kind of bottom edge there is the corner mount vanity with a roll under sink. So he can roll under that sink, still be able to wash his hands, and have space for him and his wife to be in there so she can help him out. Yeah, this actually is almost a live photo of where we're at right now, actually, because we in these cases, this is a project that's ongoing, so I wish I had a finished photo for everybody to see. But in order to do that barrier-free shower where there is no curb, and if it's on a slab, you have to come in and cut out the perimeter of that shower where the concrete slab is and actually recess it. And so we just make relief cuts and then hammer that out, take out all of the existing concrete, and then put in rebar, dowel in rebar to the existing concrete, lower the grade a little bit, and then pour up 4 inches of fresh concrete on there so that we have a 2-inch recess, and that allows our tile guy to float toward the drain, and you don't need a curb in that case. And so it's just critical for somebody in a wheelchair, because a 4-inch curb means they can't get in and out of the shower. This is another one, and I'll just quickly go through this, but another project that we're working on currently. And in this case, we are remodeling the bathroom for accessibility. And if you go to the next slide, those jacuzzi tubs, we get requests all the time because they're just not suitable for anybody with a mobility challenge. Getting in and out of the tub is dangerous. And so this is what we've come up with the client in terms of making an update to make it more accessible. So we are doing a barrier-free shower there. So as they age, they can have that curbless shower to be able to easily get in and out of the shower. And then if you go to the next slide, this one was unique as well because there's a crawl space underneath this spot in where the bathroom is built. And so we had 14-inch TJI joists that the subfloor was on, and we had a structural engineer review our plan for recessing the floor, because you can't just cut through TJIs and have them be structural still. And so we came up with a plan to recess this floor and get that 2 inches. And in this case, we went 2.5 inches down, but we poured some footings with piers and put posts in and some beams across to support our new floor. And we abandoned the joists that were running, the TJI joists that were running through that section, and headered off the rest of it. So put in 6x6 posts and beam, and really happy with the way this one came out. It's just rock solid. Great.
That was the last one.
Yeah, it's harder to recess a shower in wood than it is concrete.
It is. Yeah, the concrete one goes much quicker. There's a lot less to it. I agree totally.
Yeah. And with the wood structure, you're going to cut into some supporting structures, and I did one up in Salt Lake. I did a massive recessed shower, and we had to oversize the trusses so that we could cut into them.
Yeah.
And we did dimensional lumber, not TGI. So by cutting into the dimensional lumber, we're not going to affect the structural integrity of the home. So why not just do that at the get-go?
Right.
That
would make things simpler for sure.
It's hard. A lot of framers and home designers and builders, it's so much easier to do a slab on grade patio home. You factor the 2-inch recess for the showers, and you're all solved from the get-go. But if you're trying to do that in a frame structure, you have to do a lot more pre-planning to make that happen.
Yeah, it was a lot more involved for sure. It was exciting to do that and interesting, and to just think of the intricacies of it, but it makes it a lot more challenging for sure.
Just that factor alone, having a zero threshold shower, is invaluable to a lot of people that might be wheelchair bound, because trying to get over that 2-inch lip or 3-inch or 4-inch lip is really, really hard. And so when you can wheel in, and a lot of wheelchairs now are designed to just get wet. They literally wheel in there, they can undress, do their thing, and shower and sit there and actually enjoy it and be in the nice hot shower, and then turn it off because it's right at their hand level, and then get out and get a shower. And they can even take care of themselves, some of them, to some degree that way. So if you think that you're going to age in place to that degree, if you're going to have an old boomer mom and dad come in and live with you, then this is something to think about. There's a lot of great stuff right there. Let's get some questions taken. Hopefully I have some questions here for Blake. My wife can start putting some up there. This is Jay June. Creative ways to save costs during excavation, foundation framing, looking for more ways to save without sacrificing. One of the ways you can is in the excavation, if you need to bring in any dirt for that, find out if you can get a proctor on any of the soils that are more affordable. So on a home I'm doing across the valley, we found a soil that they had a proctor on, so I didn't have to pay for the proctor. And they said, yeah, I can get the compaction I needed. Takes a lot of water though to get that compaction. So you can shop around on soils if you need to bring in a soil that's got a good compaction. But when it comes to excavation itself, it depends on how insane it is. And if you feel like you can get on a piece of machine and learn it after about 2-3 hours, that's something you might want to do. But if it's overwhelming and it's too much, then you let the big boys come in there with some big toys. But then again, you want to shop around. Excavators, if they get wind that you're an owner builder, it means you're not privy to real costs. So they'll just knock you with the cost and think it's like spaghetti on a wall that might stick. And so be careful of that. Don't give away that you're an owner builder. Just say you're a builder. Remember, I've told all my students, create an email. It's just call it jjbuilder@gmail.com if you can get it, or something close to that. And just give off the impression that you're a builder and create a Facebook page that's your web domain, your website, and then just call yourself that. Okay, don't tell them that you're an owner builder, and don't tell them that you're the owner. Just tell them you're a builder. Okay, next question. Scott Allen, I am installing mineral wool on my exterior walls. I also want to install mineral wool on the roof. Thoughts? Logandale, Nevada. Yeah, that's a really good question. If it's depending upon the roof you're putting on, I don't know what kind of roof you're going to put on, but if you do the mineral wool, you may end up putting a whole nother sheeting on top of that if you're doing something like asphalt. But if you're doing standing seam, you're just going to put some skip planks up there so that you can screw the standing seam directly through that wood, through the mineral wool, and all the way into the frame structure. You might even think about, well, I thought about maybe putting the sheeting on top of the mineral wool, but it doesn't meet the shear requirements. So I'm waiting for mineral wool to be sandwiched between 2 layers of sheeting or something like that. There's a hard backing, I can't remember the name of it. It's almost like sheetrock, but it's rated for exterior. I forget the name of it, but you can put that on the top of the mineral wool, and then you could put your roof right on top of that. So research it and find out what might be best, and even talk with a bunch of roofers. Okay, great product though, that mineral wool. I love it. Saved this house. It's one of the things that saved this house from burning down. Okay, next question. Kai, hey Kai, welcome back. When installing stucco casing, is it better to use galvanized steel or aluminum? Are there benefits to choosing aluminum? The benefit to aluminum is not going to eventually erode over time. Galvanized will. And so if that gets exposed to a lot of water over time, the galvanized has just got a coating on it. It's not full all protection through it. The aluminum, but the galvanized can withstand a higher heat ratio than aluminum. So if you're going to get a fire like I've been through, the aluminum can cave into that hotter heat than galvanized metal. So you have to weigh your costs and weigh where you are and what environment you're building in. Okay. Sunshine, I like that. Sunshine. We're building an AIP home. Please consider creating a Pacific Northwest group in Discord. Thanks.
Oh.
So when
I'll write that down.
Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
I'm privy to the Pacific Northwest. I went to grad school in what's considered the Pacific Northwest. Really, the Pacific Northwest is anything north of San Francisco all the way to British Columbia, all the way up there. It's pretty much, but it doesn't include San Francisco. You have to go across the bay. And some would consider, there's 400 miles between San Francisco and the border of California. People don't know that. And so that's really part of the large West Coast. So good question. Older client, you mean wise people, of course.
That was definitely, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. All the doors need be 3 feet, I hear, is one dimension for accessibility.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit if you'd like me to, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 36 inches is, and we do try to go off of like ADA compliance, and that's kind of a starting point for when we meet with our clients. And so 36 inches is the width that we shoot for if it's available. Some walls, if they have adjacent walls next to them, without doing some serious renovating and tearing down some walls, it's just not possible. So we get as large as we can. But 36 inches is ideal if you can get a 36 inch, and even a pocket door for wheelchair accessibility. Pocket doors are great.
Yeah, also, what about the stairs? What do the stairs need to be? Because you put the chairs up. What do the stairs width need to be?
That's 3 feet right there, by the way. So 36.
Yeah, it's a wide door. Yeah.
Yeah.
The stairs, we just really need about 30 inches minimum for the stairs for that seat to fold down. So a lot of the stair lifts we install, the seat and the armrests and the footrest will all fold up and get out of the way. So if somebody is using the stairs, walking up and down the stairs, it recesses back to about only 8 inches away from the wall. But in the riding position, when it's folded out and somebody's riding on it, yeah, you'd want 30 inches minimum clearance on that. Most like large full-size staircases are 48 inches, but 30 inches is probably the narrowest that I'd want to do it on. Yeah, for a stair.
A cost range for those?
The straight ones are they start at about 5,000. So they're pretty reasonable if somebody's trying to get, if they are limited to or isolated kind of to one floor because of a mobility issue. It's a pretty inexpensive way to get up to the top floor or down if they have a walkout basement down to the bottom. And so a straight stair lift starts at about 5,000. It does go up. The cost goes up pretty significantly, quite fast for the curves, because that's a total custom order that they welded up and fabricated out of Florida. So as soon as there's like a curve in it for a banister that does a 90-degree turn or 180-degree turn, it does ramp up from there.
Okay. I have a client. That's why I was wondering. I have a client, and I just if we could find a 2-story home and just put that in, maybe it would be better cost-wise, because some homes that are 2-story are a lot less.
Yeah, when it has the curve in it and it has to be custom fabricated, it goes up to starting at about 13,000 and goes up a little bit from there.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're designing a home and building some stairs, I always try to push it at least 3.5 feet wide. If you can go 4 feet wide, it's going to accommodate everything he needs. Mm-hmm. But don't go below 3 feet. 3.5 feet, it gets to be really, really tight. And there's a lot of old homes with that. I can understand that. But if you're building something new, go 3.5 feet at the very minimum. And if you go 4 feet, it makes all the difference. My wife and I just left the home and we went, it's 3.5 feet at the bottom. And as you get near the top, it's 4 feet. So it changes halfway up. And so it makes it so both people can go up and down the stairs. It was really nice. So, okay. Lainey, what is your opinion using cork flooring? Good question. It does have, it does change with humidity, from what I understand. Cork naturally expands. So if you look at a wine bottle, it's always moist inside there, so it does expand. When it's away from that moisture, it can actually dry and become crumbled. It can crumble. And so as long as it has, in humid environments, I understand it does a little better than very, very dry environments. But you have to double check. I know they do some fillers and some product stuff that embedded inside there, but you want to find out it does have the capacity for change when you do put put it down. So just check that out. If it's glued down, it might do a little better, but I haven't seen any cork boards that glue down very well. Bamboo is the same thing. Bamboo has a very similar reaction to higher humidities and higher, because it's a natural product. It's not engineered. So it's going to swell, compact, contract, expand in more humidity and less humidity. So watch out for that. Okay. David B. So I've been looking at accessible designs. It looks like you need to hang the floor joists in pockets of the foundation basement wall in order to get the floor closer to grade. Can you also lower or raise your garage floor to get rid of the step into the house there? I'll let our guest answer that question.
Is that a two-part question, or is this one from David?
Back up.
Yeah, the first one. Oh,
The floor joist.
Pockets of the foundation. I'm not following. I might be reading it wrong, so apologies if that's the case. But
I think sometimes garage floors have a step. Is that what he's saying? How to make it so it's smooth and not a step in? Or is that?
We don't do steps in where we live. We do a lot of patio homes. And so we factor that in. And so when they put in the garage floor, they actually slope it to the door. So it could be a 2 to 3 inch gradual slope. You barely feel it. It's natural for walking on it. It's not abrupt. And that way we're zero threshold, while at the same time having positive drainage away from getting inside the home in case you're going to hose out the house, the garage, or something like that. But as far as the dropping the floor, you won't need pockets. There's a lot of different hangers that you can actually tighten screw with epoxy right into the floors, into the stem wall if you have a stem wall. And that's going to be a hanger, and it's going to hold a new truss, a new support. Or you just, like you saw in images earlier, he actually put in spot footings, spread footings with some saddles in there, and he put in some 4x4, 5x5 posts, and that did it just as well. So you don't have, this is, if you're building something new, then maybe, yeah, you want to have some pockets. But if you're remodeling something, then you just accommodate for some that other way. Okay, Stephen, on Discord, someone said most banks won't loan if the project started. I want to try and cash flow the foundation or the least grading, including importing 500 years of dirt. What will that be an issue? Yeah, it will be an issue. You'll want to get the loan secured first. Talk with the bank and say, here's what I want to build, how much I have down, land's paid for, here's all the total costs, and I want to get a loan, but I don't want to tap into the loan until this point in the game. I want to cash flow up and through that point. Tell them that, and they should be more than happy to accommodate you. And let us always tell us where you're building and where you're remodeling. Kind of helps us because we can maybe send some other resources your way. Okay.
This is just a statement.
David, accessibility will always add to a house's sellability, expanding its market.
Expanding the market.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he meant. And then we have.
It's me, Big Slim, different account. David B. For flat showers, could you design with floor trusses and have them design in a lower floor in the bathroom, enough to add in the tile and build up your floor slope for an edge drain?
Yeah, I think, and Keith, if you know from, a new construction point of view, we do a lot of remodels. So, ours is mostly going into existing homes and modifying what's already there. So you might have a better point of view on it from a new construction.
You could build up the shower so it's a ramp up situation, but you're going to have to ramp up almost 2 inches. And if it's a big enough environment, that won't be a problem. But if it's a really, really tight quarters situation, that could be a noticeable bump. But that's something to think about as well. Did that on a large home up in Salt Lake area, Park City, large master bathroom, and they wanted a 0 threshold after we framed after the fact. So we actually created a ramp up into the shower just subtly, and then we actually shaved down the TGIs quite a bit, and then we reinforced them down below. Talked with an engineer; he was okay with that, as long as we really put some 2x8s down below the 2x12s, and we were able to shave it down. So sometimes it's case by case on what you can do and what might be the best route to do that. But again, if it's new construction, plan ahead. If it's remodel, you're gonna have to get inside there and dig something up to see what it looks like down below. Spice Dragon, do you have any fireproofing tips for a crawl space? Yeah, what I would do on a crawl space is I wouldn't put any polyiso foam, none of it anywhere, because that's not going to help you at all. I would just literally put, and you can put mineral wool, 1, 2, 3 inches of it up against the concrete wall, and you can either Tapcon or redhead, or not redhead, but you can put some 22 caliber plates on there to hold it in place. And then once I got that in, after I have all the other insulation in and everything else inside there, I would literally put a mineral wool right over the bottom of the floor joists. Put it up there. That really is going to really fire retardant and fireproof the entire crawl space. So if there, for whatever reason, if there's a fire down there, it's not going to work its way up. And the worst part is a draft. If there's any kind of a draft and there's a fire down there, that draft gets up inside the home with some sort of a spark, it's going to be a flame. If you ever opened a fireplace and you open the vent above after the fire gets hot, the minute you open it, the fire starts to go. That's what you want to stop, is try to stop those venting situations that can actually start bringing too much oxygen to the fire. That's what you want to avoid inside that crawl space. Okay. JCTR4, how many crew do you suggest for a 1,600 square foot slab on grade pour? 1,600 square feet. That's about, I've seen 2 guys do it, but 4 would be more optimal. So it can actually be finished timely. 2 guys, it's a risk. If that concrete goes too quick in a hot day, then you don't have enough good finish. So 4 guys could really punch out 1,600 square feet pretty nicely. So do you think mineral wool is a good idea for a hot, dry climate? Will the cost be worth the benefit? Yeah, it's great. It's a fire retardant. It's a sound deadening quality. It's mold proof. It will be there with the entire life of the home. This entire house is wrapped in mineral wool. I'm in a dry climate, but I'm in a higher altitude climate. So in the wintertime, it gets really cold. So I've added an additional R6 on the home. So that's going to be a lot of value for efficiency during the colder months when I'm heating the home. And it's actually been nice for cooling it as well during the 2 months that my wife likes to make it colder than I like, but it makes it nice. So, Honey Caffeine, welcome. Any ideas to use special door hinges for easier wheelchair access? I'll let our guest answer that one.
Yeah, there's actually, I forget the name of it, but it's like a swing away hinge. So the hinge actually has almost 2 hinges on it. It's the one to secure it to the door jamb, and then there's one that swings away. I believe that's what it's called. If you Google that, the swing away hinge, that would allow you to modify an existing door frame. And that essentially what that does is gets the full door out of the way of the door jamb. So you'd have the full width of the door between the door frame.
Yeah, so that way, if for some reason, if you need to get in and open the door first, and it gives you more access, you can do that. Or in other situations, pushing it all the way in, then it gives you better clearance. It's kind of like those hinges they have in restaurants, you know, those double bar hinge doors where it swings both ways.
Double swing, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are pretty nice. Next question.
As a statement.
It'd be, when I was looking at used homes to buy before I decided to build, I found one home that the owner had designed with a very, very wide staircase to the basement so we could have room for the stair chair. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. That's probably where he put his grandpa. Good question. Good comment. Hey, student here. Any advantage using thicker OSB or even plywood for sheathing? Yeah. The roofers will like you for it. We get away with absolutely flimsy roofing, and we put on just the thinnest sheeting for bare support of anything. On this house, I have almost half-inch sheeting, which is closer to 5/8 inch, and it adds a huge difference to the home. More rigidity to the home, more shear strength to the home, better at wind, and it's safer for the roofers. And most of all, it has more meat. So when you screw in the roofing material, which all this roofing material is nailed or screwed in, I've got more bite. And so with that more bite, it's going to hold the roof down a lot better. And plus, the thicker your wood is, adds a little bit of additional R value on top of that. Not much. It could be 1/4% or 0.5%, but it adds a little bit of density. If you've heard me talk before, I love density in my home. And the more dense you can make things, the better off you're going to be. And your framer is going to love you for it. Leanne, I'm in Maryland. Besides hurricane clips already required, what else can be done to wood framed home to strengthen it for potential hurricanes? I'd put those wood frames 16 inches on center, not 2 foot on center. So what does that mean? Most trusses on a roof are every 2 feet. And to me, I felt like that was just a little bit shallow. I would actually make it 16 inches on center. And believe it or not, you can still put the sheeting. It doesn't change the nailing pattern or anything like that. It just adds more meat, more weight to the entire frame structure. And the hurricane straps, I'm not a fan of them. There's a new, it's been used for quite a few years now, but they're called structural screws. And so what they do is they go up through the bottom plate of the top plate. They screw in from the bottom of the top plate, and they screw right into that truss. And that's been holding trusses a little better, or it's more affordable and quicker and faster at the framing stage. But to me, I wouldn't mind putting both on. So the hurricane strap that goes on the bottom of the truss, it nails right into that top plate and also into the truss, and then maybe in those screws as well. One thing I like to do is I like to double top plate. Some people get away with a single plate, but most framing requires a double top plate, and that adds more structure to the whole thing as well. Making sure you have your straps down. Talk to your structural engineer and ask him, hey, is there any way to strap this roof a little better so that I can help keep it from lifting up? That's really your biggest threat there. But I wouldn't do 2 foot on center. I would go 16 inches on center. And I think that would actually help out quite a bit. And to be honest with you, it'd probably be maybe 7 or 8 additional trusses. And those are nominal. That could be maybe $200-300 a piece. Put them all on there, and you've got more meat, more weight, and more to hold down that roof. And the other thing is, don't vent your soffit. No venting. Seal all that up. So when the framers come out and frame the sheeting on the roof, frame the under part of the belly. And you're in Maryland, it's pretty cold there most of the time. And so you don't want any draft getting up inside that attic to change atmospheric pressure and then cause it to lift. You want to seal that off, and that's going to add more shear strength and more meat to the entire roof structure as well. Okay. Good question, Leanne. Kelly Jones, what's the best elevator to put in, and how much room do you need to make sure to have?
It's a deep question. There's so many elevator types and brands. The one that we do is we can retrofit it into an existing space in a lot of conditions. We just have to make sure that the floor plans align on the top floor and bottom floor. Sometimes we're able to put them in, like, on the floor plan, if it allows for it, if there's a closet that's connected on the top and the bottom, we can put it there. But we have also been able to put it on a dual rail system, and transfers all of the weight down to the bottom floor. So it's pretty flexible in terms of what locations we can use for it, and fairly affordable as well. But there's a huge spectrum of the drivetrains on the different models, and the brands. There's like pneumatic elevators that you can do that use air. The one that we do is a drum system, but lots of different options out there. In terms of how much space do you need for ours, we have a 2-person and a 3-person. The 2-person is about a 30 by 40 inch footprint. So not very much space required for that. The 3-person can accommodate a wheelchair as well. So that one is a little bit deeper. But yeah, I think that one's about same width, about 34 inches, I believe, by 50 inches. But still, all in all, for an elevator, that's not a very large footprint that you need for your house.
Okay. Oh, thanks.
Here's an added question to it. So, what's the best type of elevator to put in? And there's different types. You talked about that. But what would you say is the best?
Yeah, I think if you're doing a new build and that was being considered as multi-level accessibility, and the way to get there was an elevator, I think if you were able to accommodate an elevator shaft and do it, from the beginning, that would be the best way to do it. Where we're going into existing homes and retrofitting the elevator in there, we just use the one company they're out of Pennsylvania, but we install theirs. If you are doing it from the beginning and that's in the plans, definitely build an elevator shaft if you have that in your budget.
Yeah. Or do like the Swift Family Robinson and, have a cable system, and one person pulls on the cable system and lifts somebody else up.
Yeah, counterweights.
Yeah. Good question, Kelly. Okay, Scott, have you used the Max 360 takeoff service that's on your self-managed program? Were they fairly accurate? I've used them. They were not as accurate as I wanted, but they're better. I'm still looking for another company. Believe it or not, I get hit up almost every day by somebody saying that they can do takeoffs. And the email is not a professional email. I don't have a professional website. And I did that on Max 360 takeoffs. They've got a lot of computers and technology to get some accuracy on that, and they're getting pretty good at it. They've been around for a long time, but only use them for what you think you might need. And then you may not need them, to be honest with you. You can take your plans to a lumber yard, not a box store, but a lumber yard, and they can give you some takeoffs. Some of them might charge you, but then that's the hardest one of all to get takeoffs on. The next hardest is all your siding material. The roof is pretty simple, but the siding material, if you get a subcontractor to bid that off, you can measure that pretty well. But the lumber is the hardest thing for owner builders to figure out, which is why I tell people to always go to a lumber yard and have them give you a bid. And there's no reason why you should pay for that, to be honest with you. I've had some students use Max takeoffs and they just paid for the full service, gave them tile square footage, flooring square footage, drywall square footage, painting, everything. And you can do that if you want to. It just gives them a ballpark. But when it really gets down to it, the hardest one is lumber, and you don't have to pay for that. Go to a lumber yard. That service is there if people want to. Kim Winter, as the GC for a home, should we purchase the drywall and zip system to avoid the markup? You can if you want to. but you want to find out how much that markup is. As a builder on a lot of jobs, I don't do a markup on anything. I'm just a straight flat percentage on the total cost to build. So that way they see the real cost. I'm not gonna mess around with that. And I don't know too many GCs or even other subcontractors that do a heavy markup on stuff. Most of the ones I work with, they just mark up their labor. They don't mark up the materials. They just put all their costs in material, delivery, mobilization, and labor. They separate it. They don't try to mark up their material costs because they know they're dealing with builders, and builders know the real cost of things. That's why I tell everyone, call yourself a builder. Don't call yourself an owner builder. And you can order the drywall, have it delivered there. But that can be a headache too, because if you're over, guess who has to take that back to replenish the stock fee? You get to do that. So to me, it's worth them solving that problem, especially for drywall. The zip system, you can talk with a lumberyard and ask them to deliver that. The zip system is not going to be a subcontractor bot, though. That's going to be ordered directly from the lumberyard anyway. So that you're just going to pay the lumber fee. You're not going to pay an upcharge because you're not going through a subcontractor. So, but the drywall, I can see a possibility on that. But factor in the mud too, and the tape, and the different size drywall for the garage versus the house. So, good question. But you can run yourself ragged trying to save a penny. And I tell people you're already saving tens of thousands of dollars by being a GC. I wouldn't want to chase after a penny after already saving tens of thousands of dollars. So,
okay, there's a really good discussion going on about back to the hurricane and strength and stuff. So I wanted to pull up the comments that were going on to fill in. Leanne. So David Parker had a good one.
Yeah, triangulation. The biggest problem that people don't face is they rely on the shear strength of the sheeting only, and there's no cross supports between the trusses. So triangulation is going to help with additional supports on that. So you're not relying on the sheeting. That's why I like a thicker sheeting, because it's adding all that additional shear support.
Here's another idea.
Ring shank 8-penny nails to hang sheathing also holds a house together. Never use staples. Very good point. Also, when they do put the sheeting on, that the head of that nail shouldn't be too recessed into the sheeting. It should just hit it just nicely and a little bit snug. I've seen them recess that too far into the sheeting, and then you've lost all your strength. So that means that they have the air compressor on, or the adjuster on the gun is not right, and the nail just is not hitting it right. It's going too deep into it, or it's going too shallow, and you got to go through everything and hammer everything down. So good point.
Here's another one.
As someone who has had to remove sheeting on at least a few occasions, I can tell you those staples are no joke, but I still prefer nails. Yeah, those staples are a nightmare taking off, and I don't like them because they rust, and I'd rather have a thicker gauged metal like a nail than a thinner gauged staple, and I'm just not a fan of staples. So
there's one more.
High-end houses out in a hurricane, whereas nail-clad sheathing held up. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, let me get down to the questions.
Okay. Hipped roof was that person was asking earlier. A hipped roof configuration would also help quite a bit as well. Plywood worth the extra cost? No, I would go with a thicker OSB. And just start. It just makes more sense. Plus, when you rip and cut the OSB, you can get a cleaner cut than with the plywood. Plywood just frays, even if you have a somewhat sharp blade and it's a little bit dull. It's just when you cut that, it's just going to fray, and you're not going to have a solid edge to it. So OSB would be better. How do you avoid front entrance stairs? Really, really good question. You've got to set your elevation just right. I don't know where you're building, some places you're going to have to be up a certain height or elevation from the street to have positive drainage away from the home. That might create that problem, but it depends on how far the home is from the curb and gutter, and if you can have a slope. I was hoping to avoid that on this home that I'm in right now, but the county made me raise my home, and as a result, I have a step here and 1 or 2 steps up front. But I built up a lot of dirt, and if I didn't build up the dirt, I think I could have had maybe an additional 2 or 3 other steps. So you can build your grade up. If you've done your stem wall, I'm not sure if you're doing a stem wall, you can build your grade up so you can limit the impact of steps. But to me, whenever I build, that's one of the first things I think about is how can I avoid the steps, or how can I avoid as many steps as I possibly can? So good question. Orion, does our guest do ADA compliance as well? I have a mixed use project, which I believe falls outside ADA requirements. Curious how best to confirm.
Yeah, so we don't do commercial right now. I've considered getting into that. What we do for our residential clients is we'll start with ADA compliance. So like for grab bars, for instance, the ADA schedule is 33 inches to 36 inches. And so that's a good starting point for us. But if our client is, on the shorter side, if they're only 5 feet tall, we may be below that 33 inches. And because it's in their residential space, you can put it at whatever level is best for them. Curious how to best confirm. If you do have like a inspector in your area and who deals in commercial spaces, that might be the best way. There are lots of resources online as well for ADA requirements, and I believe it is nationwide as well. I don't know if they differ state to state. I think it is pretty specified throughout the country and consistent there, but a lot of resources online for ADA compliance. So you should check there first, and then maybe consult with somebody local who does inspections.
Yeah, good question there. Scott, I have created a website and have an email address that is at my business name as opposed to my Gmail. I think it helps with suppliers not taking advantage of you as an owner builder, like you suggested. Yeah, just give off the impression you're a builder. And one of the things you can say is say, I'm a real estate investor. I do a couple of these a year, and play it down if you need to, but you're still a builder. You want to give off the impression that you're going to be reusing them a lot. Don't give them the impression you're just going to do a one-off build. Just little innuendos there that, I'm just a real estate investor. I do a couple of these a year, and mention that. Oh, more clients. So I'm going to have you as a client. Great. And if you can kind of push it a little bit that way, which, to be honest with you, is not far from the truth. I've known a lot of my owner builders that when they have done, they actually go do it again, or they now are better real estate investors and they're savvy about the whole thing. And then they just roll that momentum into something else. So just say that. Say this is who you are. This is what you're going to do. You're going to improve homes and make life better in the community. And you do a couple of these flips, and then you're off to the races. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that, honey. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen people do it once and they're like, oh, we can do this again.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see how many of our students have been doing it more than once, right? That would be a good question.
I want to do some history.
Put in the comments if you've done more than one home.
Yeah, I want to do some history and find out when
the
Contractor was created, because contracting may have been something in the commercial realm, but if you go back far enough in time, everybody knew how to build. They would just get their brothers and sisters to help out with the build. There's a movie called Witness with Harrison Ford. It's called Witness, and he actually goes to an Amish farm to help hide a boy. Long story short, and they all raise a barn. It's a wonderful movie. You ought to watch it. And everybody knows how to do a part. And there's no general contractor there telling them what to do. So we've hired a lot of middlemen, and I'm a big advocate for the transcendental movement in America, mid-1800s. Emerson comes out and Thoreau comes out, and they say, I don't have to buy that from Europe. I can manufacture that myself. I can do that myself. I don't have to pay all those huge taxes. I can create that myself. That's really the birth of the American experiment or the American spirit. And it's the self-reliant movement. Today, it's demonized. Oh, you're just a conservative. You're this or that. And they call them up, they politicize it. And you're an isolationist. You don't want to just pay into the market and help with the market. No, I just want to learn how to do it myself so that I can save money and so that I can be independently sufficient. And that was called the Transcendental Movement. It was really the hip thing at the time, you know, and I think we need to bring it back. That's why this channel is dedicated to that whole spirit, that if you can learn how to manage the side of your own build, you can save a huge amount of money. So, yeah. Do you think that mini splits are a good substitute for doing a whole duct HVAC system for a smaller home, about 1,500 square feet? Yeah, it depends on the design and the layout of it all. I like mini splits because I can control each room. And if you have 1 or 2 rooms you think aren't going to be used, then they're great. They're great. And they're easy to fit through frame structures. Val Smith, hi. I'm just so glad to see you're all doing well through this fire situation. So happy you're still doing a live chats. Yeah, you can see that the forest out there is nice and burnt. We look out into a forest that's just crispy black. So somebody's pulling up outside my house. What installation would you recommend for walls, baths, blow in, or 1-inch spray foam? I'm in Nephi, Utah. Exteriors brick. I wouldn't do foam. I would just do a mineral wool or even a nice blow in, a net and blow, or even a really thick bat. You can get some good R value in there with some bats, but I wouldn't do foam. Everyone knows how I feel about foam. Stem wall versus concrete pilings on slightly sloped hilltop. 1,042 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Stem wall versus concrete pilings. I wouldn't do concrete pilings. Depends on where. That's my plumber. Just give me a second. He's coming to fix something. Hey, Derek. A stem wall is my favorite. Why? Because you're going to have all that wind blowing underneath the concrete pilings. And why have that insulate? Why have all that cold air around your home? So, yeah, I would do a stem wall. Here. And GJ, I remember that name from a couple of weeks ago. Hi, what brand should I consider for elevator? I have left a 5x5 opening between first, second, and well basement. I'll let my guest answer that question.
Yeah, I apologize. I wouldn't have a good answer for you just because we wouldn't. We only work with one elevator company, and the application for that one is retrofitting. It's a freestanding elevator in most cases, so it doesn't have a shaft or. And if this case, your 5x5 opening. Look at, maybe this would be a good application for you since it's not necessarily an elevator shaft. So look at Stilts. It's called Stilts Home Lifts, and they're out of Pennsylvania. But check out their website and see if one of those would work for you. It's an affordable option for elevators and for multi-level access, and that's why we use them here. And it usually the turnaround time that we can install these is about 3 to 4 days, sometimes a little bit more if there's some, if we're doing it in a garage, for instance, and we need to build a firewall around it, it takes a little longer than that. But it may be a good option to at least get the juices flowing on what's available out there. So Stilts, it's with a Z.
All right, we'll take 1 or 2 more questions here if there are some questions there. Let's see here.
That's it, honey.
Okay,
I'm just making a few comments. So if you want to wrap up.
No, we're good. We'll be back here next week. I want to thank our guests here to give me some ideas about aging in place and building a home so it can handle your old age time in your life. Some good thoughts on that. We've got a lot of posts coming up. We got new builds coming up, and just watch the process. We're going to get more details, getting into the actual step-by-step of really complicated high-end homes, very simple patio homes. And I have a home coming up that's got an ADU built into it. So there's going to be a rental that was approved by the city. So when the client moves into it, she's going to have a rental that she can take $1,200, $1,400 a month easily as part of her revenue. These are things we're going to be doing on some homes. I've got a 20,000 square foot home we're building down in St. George area. And so some really big homes, some very modest homes, and some revenue generating homes. A lot of neat things that we've broken ground on. So look for a lot of posts. We're going to get excited about it. And we'll see you guys here next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and go to howtobuildyourownhome.com. If you've not gone there, go to howtobuildyourownhome.com. Take the First Steps course. It's going to be invaluable. It'll point you in the right direction. It's the best course online for you being an owner builder and replacing the general contractor. And that's the biggest cost savings you can ever imagine in a home, is saving tens of thousands of dollars by being your own builder. So we'll see you guys next Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. See you then.